Oh my goodness. Wonderful, wonderful. Hello, everyone, again, and welcome so much to A Medium's World. Over these next 10 days, we're going to be sharing in some phenomenal conversations with some amazing mediums who are beginning to move into the world to share their gifts and talents and abilities with others, who feel an immense call to be of service, and who have done an enormous amount of personal work in order to show up and answer their call through their mediumistic abilities. And I'm so excited to showcase some phenomenal individuals who are really, really helping to be the change that we want to see in the world. We're going to be delving into all kinds of conversations. We'll be sharing not only personal stories and experiences that we've had as mediums with the unseen world that further validates to all of us that life after death is not only possible, it is actually very, very real and happening. We're also going to be shedding some light on some misconceptions and some of the maybe untruth or fear base that is associated with connecting to the spirit world. A lot of that can be the very reason or the very thing that holds a lot of mediums back from pursuing their call from spirit, or even from individuals who are curious about having a reading or perhaps have lost a loved one and they're seeking some of the not only just closure and healing after following a death, but also that connection with the non-physical loved one who is there in spirit looking to love them and to support them, continuing to support them and be a part of their life. We're going to delve into a tapestry of things, the spiritual truth, and of course, allowing you to have, through the eyes and the voices of these extraordinary mediums that are joining me, to really demystify some of the unknown things that are out there so that we can together bring in a path of new understanding, of enlightenment, and support for mediums who are, really feel compelled to do this work, as well as for other people as in support of their spiritual awakening and, of course, their healing. Now, each medium shares a unique narrative on their journey, and they're going to be unveiling some of their aspects of their distinctive calling and purpose in how they've come forward to bridge the gap between the physical and non-physical world. And through their insight, their experiences, we're going to discover there is a diverse amount of way in which we communicate with the spirit world, and that each of us is indeed a masterful conduit for those messages and for that healing from beyond. Hi, everyone. I am Bonnie Wirth. If this is your first time in coming and being in a gathering with me, let me just say welcome, welcome. I am so, so grateful that we have opportunity to connect in this way. For those of you who are joining and are participating, perhaps you've already had experiences with me or you've attended the previous Mediums World events. I want to say hello, welcome. I am beyond grateful to have all of you here and being a part of this journey. I feel that in some way, whether I can prove it or not, I've made a sacred promise to bring the healing power of mediumship to the masses. And I believe wholeheartedly in the transformation and healing potential of this very ancient practice. I have embraced so many challenges that come with being a medium and have only led me to become even more deeply passionate about helping other mediums and helping people to overcome and eradicate that fear-based consciousness that exists in terms of the spirit world, but also in supporting everyone to honor their true self, to allow every single person to show up within their own light, their own purpose, and to share what I believe are our God-given gifts in order to help others, and to help others, whether that be through our active engagement with spirit world and bringing messages and healing, or if it's simply to be a part of initiating to bring more light into our very darkened world. So I've been working professionally in the field of mediumship for 15 years. In fact, I'm so excited because through this Mediums World event, you're going to be celebrating not only my birthday, but also celebrating this 15-year anniversary that's coming up for me as well. I've been engaging with the spirit world my whole entire life, and when I look back even 15 years ago or even 20 years ago, if someone would have told me at that time that this is the work I would be doing, that I would have the chance to turn my passion into purpose in this way and make a career out of this, I would have probably ran the other direction. I would not have probably believed them at all. But here I am, and I have had the pleasure to help so many men and women unearth the precious gift of mediumship. Some, of course, who you're going to meet throughout this event. I personally have witnessed and have countless stories that serve as testimony for life after death, where I've personally witnessed through this lens of mediumship some of the most profound impacting and healing that you could ever possibly imagine. I feel so incredibly lucky that I get to do this work, and I've been called forward to do this work at the heighten or scope and capacity in which I do it. I have, again, when we look at, the human experience, the depths of grief, the grief that take place, I've also experienced the heights of the healing. The stories that I have are of, phenomena, but also are about deep love, deep connection, and a transcendence. I've witnessed miracles unfold. I've witnessed hearts mend and lives completely shift for the better from these messages from the other side. And to be a part of something that helps to bring solace and a profound sense of peace into the lives of others is without a doubt one of the most fulfilling aspects of doing this work. And so for me, being a medium is, as I said, is a sacred calling. It's something that I know that is a part of me. I don't believe that mediumship is something that we do, but being a medium is who we are. It's a part of our personality. And just like we have different aspects of our personality that we can't shake or run away from, I've over my lifetime have come to realize that we can't run away from the spirit world either. We can't deny this part of us, and it is in our ability to allow for this acceptance, the total acceptance of who we are in all facets and all ways that ultimately bring us what is the greatest sense of joy and, of course, purpose in our life. So I think it's the phenomena of spirit and working so hard to gather us together to help to ignite inside each of us the potential to communicate with the spirit world. Now, being a medium, as I said, it is a part of our personality, and it's just like we have an intuition. We all are born with an intuition. We're all born with a gut instinct. We all have that there. But to know and understand that our capacity to communicate with the non-physical world is available to each and every one of us, that every single person has the ability to experience our loved ones, our angels, our guides on this, within the spiritual realms. It is our birthright. It is our, this God-given gift that hasn't just been given to a few of us, but has been given and is available to each and every person who is seeking and who is looking to foster that connection. In my classes and in the support I do in helping other mediums, I often say that when we look at the scope of being a medium is to understand that we're all been given the capacity to sing. We all can sing. Not everyone is meant to be Beyonce in the world or, some of the spectacular spectacular divas that are out there, but we all have the ability to sing. And so this is no different. This is a part of what makes us human. It's a part of what, in understanding that we are the spiritual beings having the human experience. And so it is available to each and every one of us. And so it's just, there are, as the individuals coming on, who are participating in a part of our conversation over these next 10 days. These are individuals who have been participatory in nurturing their connection, who could no longer deny or run away anymore, and really came into the fullness of understanding of not only who they are, but a purpose that really began to unfold for them, as well. As I'm sure that many of you who are tuning into this series probably have had experiences with the spirit world, and there's something that has led you here, something that has led you to seek more, to learn more, to understand more. All of that is an indication of these natural abilities that you have. It's the invitation of those on the other side who are looking to connect with you and communicate, as well as to open you up, open up your mind, open up your heart, help you to heal and shed the things, that maybe have caused you to feel defeated or helpless or hopeless in your life, and bring in the inspiration and the love, as well as the guidance in helping you to make some really phenomenal steps forward in your life as well. So for me, I have played with the spirit world my whole entire life. As I said earlier, I never ever imagined I would ever be doing this work professionally. It's not like in high school where, where there are many mediums today, which I'm just marveled at, who actually have come forward, and some with whom I've had the pleasure of training, who have said that this is actually what they want to do. This is their career. This is what they feel compelled to do, even at a very young age. For me, it wasn't that way. And so I never ever imagined myself to be doing this good work and helping the thousands of people that I've had the privilege of helping over the last 15 years through my connection to the non-physical world. But as I said, it didn't start just 15 years ago. It started right from the time I was really, really small. And so my earliest memories have always been having imaginary friends. I was that kid that was kind of weird, and always played for hours by myself, always felt engaged, and was always talking with these imaginary friends that I had all around me. And there were times also, in my life where I would say things to people, and I would talk about their loved ones on the other side. And my mom, out of, love and protection, would tell me, like, Bonnie, you can't say those things to people. They're going to think you're crazy, or it's not appropriate to say those things. And, so it really kind of taught me to believe that this wasn't, it wasn't kosher. It wasn't acceptable, and really, was a part of what really taught me to hold back or to not share the messages and the things that I was receiving, or the conversations that I was having. So, I've had a lot of experiences, not only with those who have crossed, where they're all full of light and there's this phenomenal, beautiful, loving presence. I've also experienced some not so great things. As I said earlier, I've been someone who's really overcome a lot of challenges in terms of my own belief systems, my own worthiness, in understanding the spirit world, in being able to shift through and to show up in a profession that is very judged or very misunderstood. So I've had great help and support from the other side through all of these years, so that I could, obviously be here and doing this work that I do today. But for me, when I look back, on my childhood, so not only, was my mom looking to protect me as a child, I had some experiences that really were very almost tormenting and I would say they were tormenting me, or what would have been tormenting souls that were connecting with me or who were part of my experience. So I had, I grew up in a lot of ways very afraid of this connection to the other side, as much as at the same time I had a lot of invisible friends. So it kind of contradictory in terms of the experiences there. And I honestly never knew that other people didn't experience this. Like, I was so naive at that tender age that I just thought it was how everyone lived. I thought it was what everyone was experiencing, and never really realized I was different till my grandmother passed away. I was raised in Catholicism, which I'm so incredibly grateful, because my faith, the foundation of of being raised in Catholicism really gave me a basis of faith and understanding in a higher power. It's not, I mean, I'm not actively connected with any doctrine anymore. And completely, it's non-denominational. I have a phenomenal relationship with God, and I have more faith, I think, now than what I ever did when I was attached to an organized religion. However, all those years ago, I was raised Catholic, and so therefore we were taught more. I mean, I attended the Catholic school, but we were taught more about the devil than what we were taught about God. It was very fear-based in terms of even the experiences that I was having, that as I would share or things would happen with my mom or in our family, it was always believed that this was the work of the devil. And so and I did have some scary experiences that, yeah, they were a little hellish, and that could have absolutely have been considered the devil. But that being said, it was really these conflicting messages that I was getting. I was getting conflicting in terms of, I have the spirit world and angels coming forward with this reassurance and this love and these messages and asking me to share, certain things with certain people. And then I have my family around me, those that love me and want to protect me, who are telling me it's wrong, it's bad, it's evil, it's the work of the devil. People are going to think you're crazy if you share any of that. So I was very suppressed as a child when it came to my connection with the spirit world. And so for me, here as well, growing up in the doctrine, it really created this inner struggle, because I could never understand why a loving God who created all, and was wanting for all, and would give me these abilities, that in some way that God had made a mistake the day I was born, because it wasn't supposed to be this way. And I did everything possible to avoid this entirely, like completely. I pushed it away and pushed spirit away. I pretended it wasn't going on. I had a lot of, I was still experiencing the spirit world, but I was really caught in this inner turmoil and this conflict between the physical and the spiritual world, because the physical world was saying stop and don't go there, and the spirit world was pushing me and saying go for it, go and go, right? So it was really this dichotomy of what my life really was all about. But so I grew up with, as I said, through all of that. It wasn't until I believe I was 11 or 12 years old where my grandmother had passed away. And it was at that time when I realized that this isn't this way for everyone else. You see, up until then, I just thought this was normal. And it was at that age where suddenly I realized it wasn't. And in Catholic ceremony and funeral ceremonies, and we of course have a prayer vigil the night before, and then we would have the funeral service the next day. And it was at the prayer service where I really struggled, because I loved my grandmother. She was an amazing woman. And I was there and I was sad because I knew she had died. And yet and again, the casket is open at the front, and she's laying there in the casket, but yet I'm seeing her stand right beside the casket too, and I'm seeing her walk around and move around the room, and I'm going, like, grandma's dead, but she's not really, because I'm still seeing her. And of course, as soon as she caught and made eye contact with me, then I was starting to have these, this interaction with her. And she actually, started, was teasing me, playing with me, got me laughing. I, in turn, kind of started laughing. My cousins started laughing. And before we know it, we were all in trouble with our moms because we were laughing at this prayer service. But it was my grandmother who actually had instigated the whole experience. But it was really confusing for me. So my grandmother passed away just before Christmas. And I remember after the funeral, and I remember our family gathering, and my grandfather was sitting in a chair up against the wall, and I still can see this, even though it was like eons ago. I can still see this as clear as day. He was sitting in the chair. He was grieving. He was present in what would be the Christmas gathering, but he wasn't really there. He was caught up in his grief and his sorrow. And my grandmother was standing beside him, and she had her hand on his shoulder. And I had walked up to him, and in my naivety, and I had said to my grandfather, I said, "The grandpa, you miss grandma?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Yeah, I do too. But grandpa, she wants me to tell you that she is happy and she's not sick anymore." And I started sharing all of the stuff that my grandma was wanting me to tell him. And he sat up in his chair and he looked at me like a deer caught in headlights. And he shocked me in that moment because he said, do not ever say anything like that to me ever again." To basically to go away, to stop talking to him. He wanted nothing more to do with this nonsense that I was spewing at him. So my grandfather had always been this amazing, I had an amazing relationship, someone who I revered, and suddenly I was absolutely rejected. And so it was in that moment that I knew that, okay, I need to shut this down. I could no longer talk about this. One, it's the work of the devil. Everybody's going to think I'm crazy. And now my grandfather, who I adored, had absolutely chastised and had pushed me away. So it was a very impactful experience. And so that was around, like I said, when I was about 11 or 12 years old. So I always just kind of kept it to myself. My experiences with the non-physical world, I never talked about it with anyone. I would, have different experiences and different buildings and things that were haunted, and was always interacting with these people that I wasn't supposed to be talking to, but they were always around me. So it was always there, and something that continuously caused this internal struggle for me and made me feel very wrong, very like I was a bad Catholic girl. And the very fact that, if I shared it, I would be rejected, I would be pushed away, I would be ostracized. And so that was something I really avoided and altogether. And then when I was in high school, high school was, by the time I was 16 and 17 years old, it got really, really challenging for me again, in the fact that, several of my classmates in 1 year, I had several classmates who had passed away, individuals who are maybe a year older or a couple years older than I was, but who I associated with in circles or had been at different events and parties and stuff with over the years, or who I sat and had, coffee with during our spares. And so that was a really difficult time because I was having their spirits come forward to me, asking for me to relay messages to their family, to their parents, to their mom, etc. And I really, I couldn't do anything with it. I was really, it was very upsetting to have these messages, and I felt like I was, letting my friends down, because now these weren't just imaginary friends. These were individuals who I actually knew in life who had died. And there was one individual in particular who, again, part of her family was Catholic as well, and who had, really pushed me from the other side to, please, Bonnie, please go to my parents. Please let them know I'm sorry. She died in a horrific accident. She wasn't supposed to be out that night. She had snuck out to go to a party. She was supposed to be at home. And so she was feeling so bad because she had, obviously she had died, and she had betrayed her parents in what they had asked. And so she was really just asking me, please, Bonnie, please, Bonnie, please, Bonnie. She just wouldn't leave me alone. And she pushed me to the point where I actually parked across the street from her mom and dad's house, where I sat there and really struggled with, if I was to go to the door, what would I say to them? Like, I didn't know how to even open up the conversation, how I would even start to give the message. And she was just really pushing me, please go ring the doorbell, please go tell them, and please go tell them. And I eventually, after probably sitting in front of their home across the street for probably a half hour, 40 minutes, I finally drove away, because I just couldn't come up with a scenario where that was going to work out in my favor, or where they were going to be receptive to what I had to share based on my experience with my grandfather those years earlier. So it was one of those times I can look back where there were several times earlier where I almost I feel sad and over the fact that I wasn't able to help, the individuals who had asked me for help all those years ago. But I also understand it wasn't time for it either. There were things that I needed to live through, go through, heal, in order for it to become possible for me to open up and show up in the world and do the work that I'm doing today. But it really kind of, it really went dormant after high school here again. It was only, and I want to say dormant, it wasn't like spirit went away. I would just say that push from the other side seemed to settle a little bit. And then, of course, like so many mediums, there's different catalysts or events that happen during one's life that really start to open up and create more experiences and interaction with the non-physical world. And for me, that happened just a couple years later, between the death of my own father and the birth of my first child. And so that was, of course, a very difficult, there was again the, the dichotomy of what that was, of this narrative of the saddest time in my life, and also the most joyful time at the same time. But catalysts like death, catalysts like childbirth, all of those can open up this connection to the non-physical world. And it happens for so many people, and different waves and different experiences of things that can play out in life. But we all come into these moments and where there's an opening or a connection to the non-physical world that becomes more intensified. And that definitely was around that time period. For me, though, it wasn't in connection with my dad. It was in connection with everybody else's loved ones. So the one person who I was grieving for and who would want to have connected with the most was the one individual that I couldn't connect with. He simply wasn't available for me. I understand the variables of what that is now, between the enormous amount of grief that I had. Have created, a filter in or density in the field between the physical and non-physical world. He also had to go through his own, time on the other side as well, until he could get into a vibration and a frequency where we could connect. I understand that now, but at the time, I absolutely did not understand it. And in fact, it was probably when I refused and refuted my abilities with the other side the most. I would get so angry simply because I had everybody else's loved ones coming to me. Everybody else wanted to, me to share messages with their loved ones. And it was my dad that I wanted most. It was my dad that I was seeking, that I was grieving for, that I was yearning to connect with. And I felt like I felt like I was being let down. I was let down by the spirit world. I was let down by this mediumship ability that I have. So I really got angry. I got angry not only over the fact that my dad was, gone, but I got angry over being a medium. I just didn't want anything to do with anybody else's loved ones. It was just like I want everybody to go away, leave me alone. This is not. I did not want to experience it whatsoever. And then fast forward, a couple of years later or 4 years later, I had our second child, and I had a near-death experience with her. She was the third one of three near-death experiences that I've had in my life, but hers was very significant because when I came back from that near-death experience, everything changed, which I mean that there was no longer a veil for me between the physical and non-physical world, that anything that I had tried to block, shut down, avoid, push away completely was altered. In fact, my gifts seemed to become even more amplified than they ever were before. Suddenly, spirit was everywhere, all around me, constantly. There were conversations, and I wasn't in a place where I was angry anymore like I was when my dad had passed away, but I was still back to living, I guess, my life that I had always been living, in my earlier childhood, except it was amplified. There was more of it. It was constant. And so it really it was troublesome in the sense that I'm in a place in my life where I've got little kiddos, and I'm trying to fit into the world and be normal and who everyone expects me to be, and to do what is expected and what's accepted by society, and play by all the rules that there are. And so I was really, I focused on motherhood, focused on my life, and wasn't looking to explore this part of me whatsoever. It was there. I was aware of spirit. I was, I wasn't in resistance of it, but I was not running after it either. I was not looking to explore it whatsoever. So we also had our third child. So after all three kiddos were born, and I was a mom. I was working full time at my other job. I had actually had experienced a lot of trauma, not just trauma in relationship to the spirit world and my earlier experiences, but a history and story of trauma through all kinds of experiences. I grew up in a very tumultuous childhood. My father was an alcoholic. There was a lot of violence within the home. I had experienced and witnessed mental illness, not only in my immediate family but extended family, and there's all kinds of stories there. I was personally molested. I was raped. I have this huge story of what trauma represents, or the scope of what trauma can be. And I had, for the most part, been functioning and doing quite well, in spite of it. But it was after I had my third little one, and I was here now, the busy mom. I started reaching a place of crisis in myself, a place of what was emotional distress. I was in a very, very dark place, I want to say at the gut of depression, and was really looking to just I was contemplating suicide. I just couldn't feel. It's like my past was haunting me, and I couldn't be present with my life. My past was haunting me. Spirit was haunting me. I had all of these things. I was in crisis, and so I had, at that point in time, again, there's these certain moments in life that really, really stand out, and that was one of those moments where I had prayed, and I had prayed to God, and I said, you have to you have to look to take me from this life, because I cannot take my own life. I cannot leave behind a legacy for my children of a mother who committed suicide, who was not there for them, who wasn't strong enough to continue to show up. I didn't want that to be a legacy for them. I was also afraid that, they might find me. And of course, I didn't want to traumatize them in any way. So I had made this plea to God, and I had said, take me from this life, or make everything that I have been living through and experienced and going through, make this mean something. Make this mean something, or you need to take me because I cannot do this anymore. This was the absolute moment of surrender for me. And so it was after that prayer, when it wasn't like it was the day after, but it was after that prayer that things began to really shift. I started to meet people, and I started to be connected. It was like heaven and earth began to move to bring me people and situations and opportunities that really allowed me to heal, that allowed me to explore, that allowed me to understand that life could be so much more for me. And so that was actually during the time period that I had what through an association through someone else had heard about a medium and thought, well, I'm going to go and have a reading. And so I went to have this reading with this medium. And when I sat down with her, even before she began, I just stopped her before she even started talking. And I just said, okay, so I'm going to tell you something. I said, I'm a medium, and this has been going on my whole entire life. And I just want to know here, in being here, is this going to open up a can of worms for me? You see, we were having experiences in our home by this time that not only was I having these experiences, but my kiddos were being affected now too. There were things that were occurring in the house that they were seeing, that they were witnessing, that they were a part of. And I didn't want them to grow up believing they were crazy, that this was the work of the devil, that I didn't want my story to become their story in any way. And so I needed to learn more. I wanted to know what I could do to help and protect them, so when I sat down with her, I was just, is this going to open up a can of worms? Like, is this going to, I've worked really hard to close this door, to push it away, I want nothing to do with it. And with me being here, does that mean that I'm going to, I'm kind of opening up more to this? And she just leaned forward in her chair and she said, yes, Bonnie, there's no running away from spirit. And I was just like, okay, let's go, because I needed some insight. I needed some guidance. I needed to know how to help and support my kiddos. I wanted to make sure that, our house wasn't having the same scary experiences with the spirit world of some of the things that I had grown up with. And so that really is what was a big, big turning point for me. And through the counsel and through the advice and the support that I received, and the messages from my dad and other loved ones on the other side, really, helped me to get a grounding on the very things that were happening in our home, but were a big part of what was helping me to heal as well. I had, the more that I continued to engage with the spirit world, the better, I was doing my other healing based on the traumas and things that had been going on. I had, stepped away from traditional counseling at that point, and I had gone completely alternative and holistic in helping and supporting my healing. And so everything was helping me to feel better. And the more that I was feeling better, the more that my vibration was raising, the more that my vibration was raising, the more, guess what? There's more I was connected with the spirit world. And so it really, kind of took form from there. I was still working. I had worked for the public school division in my community. I had worked there for many years. I had experiences with coworkers where loved ones had passed away, where I was not in a place of sharing anything. I wouldn't have, was not offering any messages, any guidance. I still was telling nobody that I was a medium. Toss the key away. I'm not saying anything. And in fact, the experience, even with my kiddos, like the experiences that we were having in the home, I was saying, I wanted to protect them. So I was, something would happen on the weekend, and maybe we had some spirit activity, or there was something that played out and happened. And I would just say, okay, so when you go to school on Monday, remember, this is our secret at home. We're not going to say anything to anybody, right? Because I was like, people are not going to understand, because my experience, my conditioning, my stories of the past were being rejected, being ostracized, being pushed away, being misunderstood. And I was not going to have that again be the history or the story for my sweet kiddos either. So it was like this big family secret that we had, and we went around our life going about day by day, completely normal. We're just this normal family. Well, anyway, of course, normalcy is just, as they say, a setting on the washing machine. So we look at, there's no such thing as normal, and there is a medium, though. There's a low, medium, and high cycle, right? So we can look to our stove settings. There they are. Wherever we go, there's always the medium. Anyway, for me, it was very pivotal in the sense of my time in the school division. So I had coworkers, as I said, who were experiencing losses. I didn't interact. I didn't share any messages, even though their loved ones were coming in. I was still pushing them away. I was just like, no, I am not doing this. I am not the person. You need to go away. Leave me alone. And then it wasn't until a very dear friend of ours passed away. He was one of my husband's best friends. He was like a brother. Our families were very connected, interacted a lot. So we spent a lot of time together. We were very, very close. Our families were close. My husband and him were very close, and he and I were very close as well. We talked almost almost every other day. Like, it was constantly, we were in and out of each other's lives. And it wasn't until he passed away. And when he passed away, everything changed. And I mean, not just for his family, but it was a very devastating loss. At that time, he had passed away of a heart attack. He was way too young. You hear those stories all the time. And I was really struggling. I was really, that day we got the news, of course, I was in shock, and just in the pit of grief. And so the next morning, when I woke up, and I woke up in the house, and of course I was up before anyone else, and as I walked out into my living room, there he was sitting on my couch, and his spirit was there and present. And I just looked at him and I said, no, no, we are not doing this. We are not doing this. No, I am still not okay with the fact that you're dead. You do not get to be here right now. You can't be here. I don't want to do this with you. And well, needless to say, he wouldn't go away. He wouldn't go away, and he wouldn't go away. He was like, if you've seen that movie Ghost, with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg, and how Whoopi Goldberg is like haunted constantly from a spirit inundating them nonstop and talking and talking and talking and talking. That's exactly what he was like. He was nonstop. He'd follow me absolutely everywhere. He would come into the bathroom with me. He would stand at our bed while we were sleeping. He would crawl into bed with my husband and I. He'd come with me at work. He'd be in the vehicle. He'd be at my, I couldn't get away from him. And he was constantly talking to me, constantly saying, Bonnie, please, please, you've got to tell, his wife, I need her to know this, and I need her to know that. And man, oh man, I just know I am not doing this. I'm not doing this. So it was several weeks after he had passed away, and I say several weeks, maybe 3 weeks by the time when this actually began to happen. And when I'm saying, it was the first 3 weeks where he was bugging me, and then at this pivotal moment where my husband and I happened to be visiting with his wife, we everything, at that point, I mean, the funeral was over, life was settling in. She was in the beginning and of the deep grief, and we were there, and we had gone to see her, to spend time with her. And as we were sitting there, she's, my husband and I, and she's sitting there in the chair in the living room. And the whole time her husband is like, you have to tell her, Bonnie, you have to tell her, Bonnie, tell her you can talk to me, tell her, Bonnie, you have to tell her, she's going to understand, you need to tell her, Bonnie, tell her, Bonnie, tell her, Bonnie. And I would get up and I would leave the living room and I'd go into the bathroom because remember, he's following me everywhere. And as soon as I'd go into the bathroom, I'm like, okay, you have to stop it. I am not telling her. I am not doing this. I am not your person. I refuse. You are not making me do this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And then I'd compose myself and I'd walk back out into the living room. And I probably went back and forth to the bathroom, like, I don't know, 20 times. 20 times in, I'm sure, like a half an hour. It was just ridiculous. In fact, it reached a point, I mean, I hear the story later, but where my girlfriend had said to Nolan, she had said, is Bonnie okay? Like, is she not feeling good? Like, what's going on? Like, she's been to the bathroom so many times tonight. And he's like, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on with her. So, but it was the only way. He just kept pushing, and I would go and I would have these conversations, and I go back, and he just wouldn't leave me alone. So it reached the point that I couldn't take him anymore. Like he was pushing me over the edge, but he was really pushing me out of the closet is what he was doing. But he had said to me, he said, you need to tell her, you need to talk to her. I have things I need to tell her, Bonnie. And so she was there. She was sitting in the chair in the living room. She's still in the same place, and she's grieving. She's got one of his old sweatshirts on. She's got a toque on her head, and she's just curled up in the chair. And so I went over to her and I leaned and I kneeled down in front of her and I took her hands. And she kind of looked at me, and of course, unsuspecting of what was about to come. And I just said to her, I said, you know that I love you, right? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, I have to tell you something. I um I have an ability to speak with the dead, and your husband is not leaving me alone. I have something I need to share with you and tell you. And she looked at me and she said, okay, go ahead. And I was like, wow, I was like afraid because my history had told me like I was going to be rejected, pushed away. She's going to want nothing to do with me. All of these fears were, and I was just sweating bullets, I think probably at that moment too, because I was so afraid. And so just holding her hands and I just started giving messages to her. I just started relaying some things that of course that I wouldn't have knowledge of, I wouldn't have been privy to in terms of their relationship or things that she had even been thinking and what had been going on for her. And so she's sitting there and she's listening, and she's got tears running down her cheek as I'm talking, and I'm bawling right along with her. I'm crying through everything, and anyway, so she's sitting there, and then all of a sudden he says to me, he says, Bonnie, you need to tell her this. And so he told me what it was. And I'm like, I'm not telling her that. I'm not saying that to her. And he's going, no, you have to tell her, Bonnie. Tell her, Bonnie. You have to tell her. Tell her exactly this. And so he gave the message to me again. And so I looked at her and I said, oh, honey, I said, I would never say this to you. I would never tell this to you in a million years. And so she's sitting there looking at me. And remember, she's got this sweatshirt on. She's got this toque pulled down. She's grieving. She's in a state of grieving. And so I leaned forward and I said, well, he wants me to tell you to take off that fucking hat because you look ridiculous. And at that moment, she sat up in her chair and she looked at me and she said, oh my God, he really is here. He really is here. He really is here. She just kept saying that over and over again. And she said it was the funniest thing was that he actually did not, that toque she had put on that morning, he actually did not like that toque. And every time she wore that toque, he always told her that she looked fucking ridiculous. And so she put it on that morning, and she said that morning, she goes, and now you can never tell me that I ever look ridiculous in this hat again. And sure enough, he got one more time in through the messaging that I had shared with her that day. So what was beautiful about this is that she was open. She was receptive to me. And so for that next year now, I still wasn't working professionally at all. But for that next year, I started relaying messages between him and her. It became almost like a daily, almost experience every other day. He would show up at work and I would sit down and I began to transcribe what I can only call love letters from the other side, where he would come in I would write out this letter, and then I would phone her and I'd read the letter to her. And whatever was written that day was in answer to what she was feeling, what she was thinking. If she had a problem or a challenge and she needed a solution, it was there. And so it became this way that, for this next year or the year following his death, where I was able to use my connection to the other side to help her in processing her grief, to move forward in her life, and to just it made a phenomenal impact. And it was in witnessing what transpired with her through that year that I began to really fall in love with this part of me, that I began to realize that this was a phenomenal gift, and that I had the ability to help a lot of people just like I had helped her, and what I had witnessed and the miracles that had taken place in her life, and the things she was able to process, and the guidance that I could offer her in times of confusion or challenge was just unbelievable. And so in witnessing that, I knew that because of it, it was like, this is what I want to do. I was no longer feeling fulfilled at my other job, and I knew that I needed something to change, and I knew I could help people. I had experienced it with her, and I really felt this deep, deep call to help other people, to get out in the world and to start sharing this connection, these messages, to help people through the death process, not only in terms of the prior to death and through the deathbed, but also life after death, and being able to help to so many people to heal, to reconcile, to get the answers and the support that they required through one of the biggest challenges that we as humans ever have to go through. And death is by far the hardest thing we ever have to go through. There's no, every relationship holds its own unique experience for us, and the emotions that we experience are personal, and the depth of the grief that we move forward through is equal to the amount of what we've loved. And so, it's really hard to figure out life without someone that we've loved. It's hard to find our footing and to see hope for a future when all of, our dreams or get pulled away, or someone close to us changes the whole scope of what is then to become from their crossing. So this really became such deep, beautiful work. I'm so incredibly grateful that I'm lucky. I believe I'm so lucky that I'm someone who gets to live life this way, that gets to do this work, that gets to help people to the degree of what I'm able to help. And so when I started my business, not only did I start doing readings like this for people, but of course, it seemed like every few readings that I was doing, I was having more and more people come to me and admitting for the very first time that they were mediums, and that they were asking me for help, support, and they were asking me how to navigate things, and how do they, set their boundaries, and the challenges that they were having in their home in terms of some of those lower vibrational spirits and things, and where I would just be able to, I began to assist them and help them in the sessions. And then before you know it, I was teaching workshops, and there was, my very first workshop I ever did, it was a workshop that I did was like, I think 3 hours, I think it was, and I might have had like a sheet of paper to hand out to everyone. But it was, in the showing up and helping, of wanting to help, of wanting to serve, of wanting other people to know that what is possible, and to have, this, to fulfill this calling, because I saw firsthand how impactful and how helpful this work can be, and these messages, and how they can transform and help people in their life. And so I wanted to support other mediums and say, yes, let me help you, let me show you what I know, this is how it works for me, this is what I've come to understand. And so from there, it was like everything, my programs began to emerge, which is now, 4 different levels of mediumship training that I offer now, that started out with a sheet of paper all those years ago. So I'm so grateful. I continue to learn. I continue to learn through doing this work, through every single session that I offer, every reading, every mentoring session, every time I'm teaching, every conversation I have with the spirit world. I continue to learn. I continue to grow. I continue to understand more and more of our human potentials and who we are as spiritual beings, and our interconnectedness, not only with each other, but the interconnectedness with the non-physical world. And I just feel so fortunate and lucky that I get to host an event like this, and I get to talk about the magic and the miracles of mediumship with all these phenomenal people who have just unbelievable stories of witnessing firsthand life after death and in the work that they're called to do. And I know for myself, it's evolved. It's evolved from setting out and doing just initially of doing readings for people, where it's now, advanced to doing, I coach, I do speaking, I'm a writer. I am just absolutely so blessed that I get to utilize my connection to the other side to help other women not only discover their worthiness, but to also do the deep healing work in reconciliation of trauma. And it's just my purpose through mediumship has just expanded beyond my comprehension of what can be possible. And so I'm on a mission. Like I said at the start, not only is I have a sacred promise in taking mediumship to the masses, but I feel like I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to help people claim their joy, to claim their light, to claim this connection to the other side, and to truly be who they are in the world. I want to change the fear-based consciousness of what mediumship is. And I truly believe that this is one of the most healing modalities there possibly is, that there can be just one word that we share with someone that can completely transform their lives. In fact, my very first professional reading showed me exactly that. And it was a reading for a woman who had lost her husband, that he had been in a motorcycle accident, and it was 5 years since his death when she had come to see me. And she had at that point, for the previous 5 years, that her husband's friend had led her to believe that he committed suicide. And when she came to see me, she had been living with this story and almost, this turmoil inside of herself, because she never noticed any signs. She never noticed he was depressed. Why did he commit suicide? They had a holiday coming up. They were deeply in love. They had plans for the future. Life was good for them. They were, she couldn't understand what she was being told in terms of the fact that it was a suicide. But the friend had convinced her that because he had said at some point in time that if ever he was going to die, that he would go out on his terms and he would go out on his motorcycle. And so because of it, the friend believed that this is exactly what happened. But you see, there was no letter, there was no suicide note, there was nothing. But she came to me 5 years after his loss, and she was not able to move forward. She was still in the pit of her grief. She wasn't able to move forward at all. She really lost her hope for living. And so when she came to me, it was and this is, it stands out, one, it was my very first professional reading. It was the very first reading that I was ever taking money for. and and it was the very first time this happened, and the very first time when I sat down to make this connection to the other side, all I was getting was one word over and over, one word over and over. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I said, I'm not sure who it is that's coming through. I can't tell you if this is male or female. I can't tell you a name. I can't tell you how they died. I can't verify anything. I said, I feel like I'm not getting anything. I just this one word keeps coming in. And so I'm going to share this word with you. I said, I don't know if it's going to make sense. I said, I'm just going to share it. And so I said, so what he's saying, all I'm getting, I didn't even know it was a he. I said, all I'm getting is the word accident. I need to tell you accident. It's an accident. Well, in that moment, she folded forward into her chair and she just let out the biggest sob that I had ever heard. And she just cried and cried and cried. And so when she composed herself, she sat up and she said, and here I am. I'm feeling so bad because I couldn't offer her. I had no message. I had one word. I didn't know what to give her. And I felt like I needed to refund her money. I was a complete failure at this mediumship stuff. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh my God, Bonnie." She goes, "Thank you." She goes, "That's all I wanted to know. That's the very reason why I came. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care anything about anything else." And then she told me the story. I didn't know that prior. But so then she told me the story of how she had been living the last 5 years believing that he had committed suicide. And just hearing that word completely changed things for her. Once we had the conversation, well, then after that I could bring more in, and I could tell her, I had all kinds of messages, and I could reiterate some of the ways that he was making his presence known, and it became this beautiful, beautiful session. But that one word changed everything. And what I mean by that is, not only did it change it for her in the moment, but it actually changed her life, because she contacted me 1 month later, and she said that not only did she have a new relationship, she had a new job, she had moved to a new home, and she was in a new community, and she was starting a complete brand new chapter of life because of that one word that I gave her in that reading, and she thanked me profusely. So here again, if ever there was a doubt, not only had I been going that whole year with my girlfriend after the loss of her husband, but now I was my very first professional reading out of the gate was one that completely imprinted on me, in knowing that there is immense purpose for mediums everywhere, and that we all, if we've all got a unique purpose. We all have unique potentials in spirit communication. We are all, we all have access to the non-physical world, and that learning and developing and healing the limitations, the belief systems, the things that hold us back, and believing that this is wrong and this is bad and this is weird, or whatever the story or narrative is. This is a part of what this event is about. This is about being a part of something bigger. And that's really, when I look at what is possible through mediumship, it's not only within, like I said, the healing of that, of the one word that can make the world of difference in someone's life, but we can actually have a profound impact on people's lives in multiple ways. That there is, this interplay between the physical and spiritual realms, that there are it's limitless. The potentials of what can be possible are unbelievable, and it's something that transcends our material world, and that we all possess these gifts, abilities, these talents that will help us to, have on a very profound level that really extend beyond the ordinary. But in it, it's also an understanding. It is deeply healing. It is a part of our empathy, our ability for compassion. It's our talent through creative expression. There's so many qualities that we have that are looking to be expressed into the world, that we have through our own, not only in doing readings for others and sharing the words that we share, but through this power of connection between the physical and non-physical world, that we can also help by just our presence in bringing more light. Our presence can bring more love into the world, whether or not the people around us believe in what we do or not. And so there's so many aspects of these gifts, the capacity to heal on multiple levels. We can use, not only aid other people in healing deep-seated wounds. I mean, this is the work that I've come to do, is really the emotional support, but also helping to heal the brokenness, the woundedness. We have creative talents. We've got, music, art, storytelling. We have an ability that transcends language and yet touches the deepest parts of the human soul. This is that deepest part where we can offer solace, where we can offer restoration of what has maybe been felt broken or misunderstood. But moreover, we are able to tap into a world where we can provide insight and guidance that can lead to profound personal transformation. not only can we help one-on-one, but what I really excites me about this is that the more and more mediums who step up to say yes to do this work, who start to come forward and to express their truth, their light, their vibrations into the world, that through this we can actually, we have the potential to shape the world around us. We can affect positive change on a global scale. Visionaries, leaders, that can harness their unique gifts, that can inspire others to a brighter future, that we can help to improve the human condition, that through these extraordinary connection to the other side, that we can leave a lasting imprint, a legacy where we can help, and we can serve through this unique expression. You see, God didn't make a mistake the day I was born. He didn't, he, she, the creator, whatever word you want to put on it, did not make a mistake the day that you were born either. This is no mistake. And that we have, our connection to the non-physical world, that we can leave an undeniable mark of healing and of light, and in a way that can, not only are we illuminating light for humanity, but we can also ultimately, help to really is support other people through their awakening, so that the more and more light, again, the more the transformation that is available for the world around us. And so if you are someone who is, feeling called to learn more about mediumship, I want to encourage you to do that. Whether you take my programs or somebody else's programs, doesn't matter. Just go and, just enjoy, go dive in, learn about this, learn to understand how the spirit world communicates with you. Because as you do, you raise your vibration, more light becomes possible in your energy field, which means you contribute to more light and more love here on this world and on this planet. And we certainly need, more love and light, more love and light. You can never get enough of love and light, that's for sure. And of course, if you're someone who is grieving and you're looking to heal your heart, and just know that there are that mediums that, there are so many that have a high level of integrity, that are they are the compassionate healers of the world, and who can offer that bridge between the physical and non-physical worlds. And so, if you're looking for someone, this is the right place to come. I've got a, beautiful group of individuals that are coming forward in conversation with me over the next 10 days. I've also got on my website, I've got a directory of some other mediums who have personally trained with me and whose work that I endorse. I, invite you to go ahead and to reach out, because it can make a significant difference in the healing of, of your own grieving journey as well. You see, our loved ones want nothing more than for us to be happy. They want nothing more than for us to be able to move forward and enjoy our life. And they are still connected to us. They are connected to us, and they want to do whatever they can to help. They want, if you're a medium, their spirit world wants you to succeed at communicating with them. They want to help. They want to help you to help others. And if you're someone who is grieving, they want to help to heal your heart. They want to help to reconcile. They want to bring in the messages and what is required to help and support you in moving forward with your life as well. And to know you are not alone. Their love remains steadfast. The spirit world and our physical world, they exist simultaneously. It's like one world on top of the other, and they're everywhere around us. In fact, heaven is only 2 inches from your fingertips, no matter what direction you point out your hands. They're that close. And they want you to feel their love and to know that they are absolutely, positively 100% with you. Even if you're someone who doesn't directly experience them. Remember what I said about my dad? I didn't directly experience him in the beginning either. My grief was in the way. It was in the way of my ability to hang out with him, to feel his love, to feel his presence, and to receive his hugs. I can do that now. I couldn't back then, but I certainly can do it now. And to know that it's not something, as I said, that's just available for the few of us. It's available to everyone. And it's just a matter of learning how it is that spirit is showing up, how they're communicating with you, what they're, they no longer have a voice box, so they're speaking energy now. And so it's about learning how to translate the energy of what it is that we are receiving. So I hope that in some way our conversation tonight has inspired you. It's inspired you to go out and do this good work in the world, or it has inspired you to seek the help and support through a medium, so that you can move forward and know joy and know love and know well-being in your life. I truly, truly, that's my prayer for you, my prayer for you. All right, so I do want to go over to the chat. If you guys have any questions, if there's anything that I talked about that came up that you want to share a story about, or you have something specific that you would love to ask me about my journey or about my experience with the spirit world, I want you to go ahead and pop that question into the chat. I am moving over there now to read through. Hello. Oh my gosh. I love everybody coming in. Oh my gosh. Oh, you guys, I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed and lucky that I get to do this work, and of course have amazing people like you in my life. Thank you so very much. Hello, Lori, Shauna. Oh my gosh. Becky, thank you. Oh my gosh. I have, when I look at coming on now, Becky, of course, you know me, but I'm someone who I have the gift of gab. I love talking. So I have stories upon stories upon stories, and looking to put this all into 1 hour. I mean, I skipped a lot of highlights. I have a lot of other stories I can share, that's for sure. But I so love that you're here too, Becky. You truly are such a gift as well. So thank you. I love to share my story. I love to be open and honest, and just want other people to be inspired and to, in hope in some way that my story restores their faith, or my story, saves their life, and even as because I know what it's like to feel like I couldn't go on, and also, that my story can inspire other mediums to begin to say yes to, I look at mediums and mediumship as being one of the most misunderstood things. And that, yes, there are indeed, unfortunately, there are indeed individuals out there who take advantage of the grieving, who are fraudulent, and who, mislead, misguide, and pretend this ability. And it's so unfortunate because there are amazing people in the world where this is very, very real, that have these beautiful, compassionate hearts that just want to share, that just want to help, that just want to make a positive difference, and who, have a high level of integrity, and I mean, a great, great degree of compassion. And so, yeah, I want to, I'm looking to rally. I'm looking. This is what my community is all about. I want to rally. I want to support. I want to get this light and out there. As I said earlier, I believe that mediums need to be everywhere. I think that for me, if my legacy could be anything, would be that there would be a medium on every corner where there is a cannabis store, where there is a right next door to a liquor board store, anything like that, where we're looking at all of these unhealthy or some unhealthy coping ways that we function after being wounded, or looking at moving forward and through this of the human condition, where we could have these beautiful angels that are there in helping to support and to heal. And so that's my greatest hope. It's like wherever there is, if you're out there to buy, it's like even in the shopping malls, because lots of times we shop away our pain. We go spend our pain instead of dealing with our pain. And so I'd love to see mediums set up in storefronts and available just to help and to serve so many people. Oh my God, it's my ultimate dream. My ultimate dream. Oh, Helen, you're so welcome. I'm so grateful for you as well. I'm so grateful. Linda, hello. Oh, so Linda, I really love this. Linda shares. I got a message here. She said she feels like she's an imposter being here. She has a strong intuition. She really wants to connect. So this is something that so many mediums struggle with, Linda. So please know that you are not alone in it. In fact, I've had several students come forward into my programs who will admittedly, right out of the gate, say, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even know if I really am a medium. I don't know if I am. I don't know if I'm here. And again, this imposter syndrome that comes about. Well, here's my answer to that, Linda, is that in understanding that, one, you wouldn't be here. you've been called here, that spirit has drawn you forward to come forward, to learn more, to gather in community, to hear the stories, to be inspired, to help you to recognize how your greater truth, but maybe even recognize how the spirit world is communicating with you. And so there's often what can happen is, because this seems like just, we say we have a strong intuition. I'm going to tell you what, after you open the door to the spirit world, intuition is what got you here. This is like I say in my program, this is beyond intuition, but intuition is what got you here. And so a strong intuition is what led you here. That strong intuition to follow something that was rising up. That was spirit communicating with you. That was the urge of your angels and your guides saying, come, join this conversation, be a part of this, because they're looking to awaken it within inside of you. So as I said, I've had a lot of people come into the training. They say, I don't even really believe I'm a medium. And in fact, I have one individual she's in my level 4 program now, but like the very first level 1, she's like, I don't think I'm a medium. I don't think I got this at all. Level 1 finished, she goes, I still don't think I'm a medium. I mean, I'm having experiences, things are happening, but I don't truly believe I am. She went through level 2 and she started going, I kind of think I might be a medium. I'm feeling I might be a medium. By level 3, she's going, okay, I'm getting a handle on this. I understand. Yeah, like I really believe I might be a medium. And then level 4, she's like, okay, I can't deny it. I'm here. So, but just know, like, again, your interest in the paranormal, your interest in mediumship, your interest in taking training, all of those are you answering an invitation from the spirit world to come in and discover something that's deeper that you haven't recognized or realized yet for yourself, something that's looking to awaken inside of you. And as I always tell everyone, that comes into level 1, like, congratulations, like, you all passed. I do that because my certification programs are not about helping to prove that you're a medium. You would not, I have my relationship with the other side, my guides, I have it all set up. I'm in this way that anyone who comes forward, they already are. This is about anybody trying. You wouldn't take the training. You wouldn't come into a conversation like this if you weren't actually a medium already. It's just a little arrangement I have with the other side. It keeps it easy of helping me find my people in the world. So yes, I appreciate what you're saying, Linda. That imposter syndrome, and so many. And I want to say there were even times in my career as well. Like, I've had complete, like, total I want to say not loss of connection, but maybe where I really questioned, like, my loss of belief, even that things I had reached a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just, like, is this real? Am I just misleading all of these people? Am I just making this up? Have I just convinced myself that I'm a medium, and now I'm, like, in a state of, like, coercion and manipulation of all these other people? Like, I had a whole meltdown of my own conscience in this, even coming forward, of things that I needed to, where it all shows up. And when that shows up, it's an indication that something needs to heal, something needs to shift, something needs to be realized deeper inside of us. And when we move forward and we process and we're able to transform through that, then we come in, it's like, oh yeah, no, I could look back at all of the other, all of the readings that I've done that have been successful, and where, so many lives have changed, and yet I can still question it. In fact, I'm going to say, when there's this imposter syndrome, I have one more thing, and I'm going to get some of the other questions here. Excuse me. But one of the other things about this is that I truly believe that even in the beginning, as well as even after doing this work, even for as many years as what I'm doing it, I never want to lose that fear let's call it a fear. Like, that fear is something that serves me. And what I'm saying is that it's because of that fear that every time that I go in to do a session with a client, that I show up. that I want to make sure that I'm bringing 110% game to every single session I'm doing with my client. I want to make sure that because I can doubt, because I can feel insecure, because I can still question and wonder, it's like, I don't know, am I even still a medium? Am I an imposter? But even though we have it, our ego can go through that. But I think it's a good thing to have. We don't want it to control us, but we always want to have a little bit of that there because it helps us to stay with an integrity of doing this work. It's such an important part of it. And so I always encourage people, don't pay attention to how you feel going into the session. That's not purpose. That's just you working through the insecurity. That's you working through the doubt. That's having you to get over, the million things that you might have to get over in your life, like it was for me. But what you need to pay attention to is how you feel after. How do you feel after? Because that's what shows purpose. So it's not about how we feel before, it's about how we feel after that we want to pay attention to. And I know that no matter how much I doubt and how much I might fall into, comparison or even, question that what happens after, what is demonstrated through the reading and what I get to witness and what happens and how I feel after. It's what keeps me going. It's what keeps me going. It's what keeps me going. You guys are going to meet Sunny Dawn Johnson this week as a part of our event. Sunny's a dear friend of mine. And one of the things her and I've talked about, one of the things she gave me, and I'm actually going to have her speak about this too, I'm giving it away, is she still gets nervous to this day. She still gets nervous even after all the years that she's been doing this work. And her motto is when she's nervous, she focuses on service. And that has become mine as well. She told me that years ago, and I'm like, man, that's it for me. Yeah, just to focus on service. So if you are interested, I'm saying, like I said, if you're here, it means something's calling. There's something that's looking to be alivened and awakened inside of you. One you wouldn't have come forward to join me in this conversation. I have a tendency to gather mediums wherever I go. But thank you, Linda. I really appreciate that. Appreciate you coming here. Absolutely, absolutely. Hello, Melissa. It's been a very long time. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, Ashley. Exactly. Very similar stories. I know. That's why I resonate with so much of what you have gone through and what you share. And absolutely, totally. Like I said, and I've got stories and stories and stories within all of that for sure. Hey, Becky. I love it. Becky asks, if you could pick just one thing about what your favorite thing is about being a medium and what advice you would give to a medium who's just starting out. Oh my God. One thing, one thing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. One thing, my most favorite thing about being a medium, it makes me so emotional. The one thing I love is the love. To be able to experience see it's my favorite thing. Even though I'm crying, I'm getting emotional. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing to experience the love that comes through from the other side for the person that I'm doing the reading for. That love that transcends everything, that love that is healing, that love that is undeniable, that love that helps to heal. And to be in the experience of that love during a session is my favorite thing in the world. It is like how lucky to be in the presence of witnessing such love, of feeling the love, of being able to offer all of the love, all these messages, and for the love to be received by the person who has been craving it and missing it the most. For me, it almost sounds like miscongeniality, from that movie, how I just want world peace and I just want everybody to love, It truly is. That's my favorite thing about doing this work is just to witness and be in the experience of the love that transcends between worlds. Yeah, it's wow, so great. What advice would I give to a medium just starting out? Be 100% believe in yourself. 100%. To be able to turn off the outside world, other people's thoughts, their conditioning, their belief systems, their expectations. This is not about you, about anybody else. This is about you and your soul purpose. This is between you and God, and nobody else has any right to have any say about that whatsoever. So as long as your relationship is good with God, and I say God, and please, I know that can have like a religious connotation for people, but for me, God is the creator of all that is. God is the unconditional love. It is the Almighty. It is the everything. It is the all that is. It is, it's neither he or she. It's an omnipresent of unconditional love. Here I go again, but it's really what it's about. So it's just a word we use, and I think that there's like 180, 150, or 180 different words that we can use for God. It can be the universal mind. It can, whatever, use whatever that word is for you. I have a girl, well, actually, Carlin Ray, you're going to meet her. She always says, even if it's Kermit the Frog, like whatever it is for you, just whatever, and that's as long as your relationship is right with your higher power, and your relationship is right, and where your intention lies in doing this work. It's not about anybody else. It's between you and your higher power. It's between you and you. This is your soul's calling. This is a part of something that is not of you, but is looking to, it is of you, but it's of God, for God, and through God, and for the highest and greatest good. And everybody else is not a part of the equation. And for me, what really began to define that for me was because nobody else was in those sessions. Nobody else was experiencing the love, the healing. Nobody else was witnessing what was going on. The things that I was saying to one person, it would just be me and my client. Nobody else was there. Nobody else knew what was going on, and that became the focus. Just like Sunny said, just focusing on the service, and it was like nobody can convince me anything else. Like I cannot be convinced otherwise that wasn't real, because I've seen those people. I know what's played out in their lives. I know how things have shifted and changed, and how they've been able to rediscover a sense of joy in life. We never, please don't misunderstand me. We never get over the loss of our loved ones, ever, ever, ever. But it is something that we live with, and we live through, and we ride the current of. And so, but again, our loved ones want nothing more than for us to be happy. And so they want to do what they can to help and support us. And so in those sessions, what becomes important is only me and my client. And so being able to just release yourself from the world of needing it to be for anybody else out there. Let them talk. That's my favorite word. And I think, is the word let them talk about you. Let them judge you. Let them say you're weird. Let them say it's not possible. Let them just let them do what they need to do, and you be you. And you trust what you're receiving, and you trust that, as I said, as long as your relationship is good with your source and your intention is pure, that's all that matters. Let everybody else live their lives. And of course, you give yourself the ultimate permission of living yours. You have a purpose here that may be beyond other people's understanding or concept. And you've got to, in order to know your joy, your well-being, you've got to own it. You've got to own it. Oh my God. See, one thing, and what advice, you see. Whoo. Oh my gosh, so great, Becky. I really appreciate that question. Oh, look at Faith. I love that. Faith totally forgot about it, and yet Spirit was saying, oh, gotta go. So glad you were able to make it. I love it. So beautiful. Oh, Helen, I love this. Helen says a son of a dear friend has passed away while she was on a saltwater float, and he kept showing a moose. And he wouldn't leave until I agreed to pass a message to his dad. And giving the message was awkward, and looking forward to it not being weird to share messages. So, oh my gosh. So exactly. It's challenging, especially when, we look at where the Spirit is coming in with those messages. I mean, I talked about my friend earlier. He wouldn't leave me alone. Or in high school, my girlfriend in high school that passed away, she wouldn't leave me alone. And so it's really hard, in terms of being able to give those messages. But the key thing here, and one of the things that I am a believer about, because this is how I live my life in this, but also in terms of what I teach, is give it back to Spirit. Which means that when Spirit comes to me and they're wanting me to give someone a message, I will say, absolutely. I will absolutely be of service. I will give this message to your loved one, but you make the arrangements. You figure out how to get them to me, and I promise I will give them the message. So this has worked time and time again. And this, I have several stories where this really stands out, Helen. But one particular time, my husband and I were going into a Christmas party, and we walked in. As soon as we walked into the hall where the Christmas party was taking place, I had a gentleman who was right there in spirit, and he was saying, I need you to talk to my sister. My sister's here tonight. I need you to give her these messages. You have to tell her. You have, here again, I go, spirit almost pushing and wanting me to give this message, give this message, give this message. And so I had just said to him, I said, you know what? I will. And again, I'm not talking out loud because, people would really think, I mean, I'm weird already. Would just put it to a whole new weirdness. What I just have in telepathy through thought and through the heart, right? I'm just communicating in thought. And so I just said to him, I said, you know what? I will absolutely give your messages to your sister, but you bring your sister to me. You figure out how to bring her to me, and I will absolutely. So you see, spirit has unlimited resources available to them. They have so many ways that they can help to orchestrate, just like Faith getting ushered to get on the call and to remember that this event was starting. They reminded her spirit has all kinds of ways in which to orchestrate and facilitate for the people and these messages to be shared. We actually don't need to put ourselves into those awkward situations. So we want to give it back to spirit. So I gave it back to him, and I said, absolutely. So anyway, we went on into the Christmas party. We had a beautiful night. And then it was a little bit later in the night. People were already starting to filter out. People were going home. They were just starting to be, the group was downsizing. There was just a few tables left at this event. And we had, how it goes. And then all of a sudden you might have a table over here of a couple people. They get over and they move to another table. And so the group just gets smaller and smaller. And so we're sitting at the table, and we all of a sudden my husband's like, he was going to go up and he was just going to go get some more drinks. So he got up, and then I saw him. He was busy talking to some other people and whatever. And then two of the other couples that were at the table, they got up and went out to the dance floor. And there was one other couple at the table with us. And he got up, and I don't know whether he went outside for a smoke or something. And this woman was sitting across the table from me, and we were just like awkwardly sitting there. And all of a sudden she got up and she walked over and she sat down beside me, and she said she thought she'd come over because we were the only two at the table, and it seemed silly that we're just staring at each other. And so she had said to me, I said, are you enjoying yourself tonight? And she said, yeah, I'm really, for the most part, I am. She goes, my brother just passed away a couple weeks ago, so I didn't know if I really wanted to come tonight. She goes, I'm really, really struggling. We didn't have the best relationship, and she's going on and on. And I'm like, I said, oh yeah, I said, death is so hard. I said, I'm so sorry for your loss. And she said, thank you. She said, and this is going to sound weird. She goes, but I've really been thinking, have you ever gone to a medium? She said, I've really been thinking that I might need to go and maybe see a medium. I don't know. Do you have any experience with this? And so I just looked at her and I said, actually I do. And in fact, I am a medium. She's like, oh my God, so it was this moment. But then she said to me, so she said, you know what, can you give me your phone number? She goes, can I come for a reading? And I said, absolutely. So we exchanged phone numbers. And then she came, and I was able to deliver his messages. You see, I didn't have to chase her down in the hall. I didn't have to go awkwardly up to her and say, hey, your brother has a message. I gave it back to him, and I said, you bring her to me, and I promise I will do the reading for you. And I did, and it all worked out. So again, we can look at, it kind of helps in getting over that awkwardness of giving the message, where we can work in partnership and collaboration with spirit in order to make that possible. I always say that too, one, you never know how someone is going to receive the message. I've met a lot of people who do not want to hear from particular spirits. They may not believe in this whatsoever. Two, they may not want to hear from the person. Three, you don't know where they are in their grief journey. And so just in honoring everyone for what they believe, where they are in their own personal belief systems, their healing journey, I always give it back to spirit, and spirit always orchestrates it all. It's just been amazing. And that's one story that I can give as an example where that happened. Yeah, so amazing, so amazing. I love that you were able to share that message, Helen. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Hello, Shauna. Hello, hello. Oh, so Shauna's saying, Shauna, I love this question. Oh my gosh, that she is someone, she said she doesn't want to really bring it down if you're not bringing it down, hun. But she said, if they're in their darkest time, how do they bring themselves out of it? And how did you make yourself move forward? What helped you to shift your thinking to get away from the moments, the dark moments? It definitely, this is such a great question. And I really appreciate you bringing this question forward, Shauna, because you see, the key is it's not something that happened overnight. And it was a progression, a progression, a progression. And so that became one, I'm a big advocate, and in the work that I do with others, is we need to give ourselves permission to feel how we need to feel. We can't rush our healing. And so we need to feel into things. We need to allow the emotions to come out. We need to process it. Sometimes, we can do that on our own, and sometimes we need help. Sometimes, whether, going to a medium, having the messages, receiving the guidance. I mean, it's really how my coaching programs really came to be, because people would come to me and I'd be getting all the guidance of, here are some tips and things you can do in moving forward, but they weren't able to apply it into their life, because sometimes when we're in our darkest times, we actually do need help and support. When we've experienced trauma or deep, deep wounding, one of this, as I'm writing in my book, and I'm saying, there are seven limbs of distorted aspects of trauma, and one of them becomes isolation, where we feel incredibly alone. Yes, we need to work through some things on our own, but when we have been hurt or wounded, when we're grieving, we actually need community. We actually need people to help and support us. And so even in the darkest times, it's like we just want to push away. It's natural for us to want to isolate, and yet having a friend, going to see a medium, those began to be, for me, going to see the medium was the key for me. I started going, and at first, like I said, was to help and get help and support in terms of my own things that were playing out in my home. But I also needed help in healing my broken spirit. And so it was through the guidance that I received in the messages that I got from my loved ones on the other side, from my angels and guides, that I began to apply into my life. And so like I said, it didn't happen overnight, but I did have to give myself, I had to, I did all kinds of energy therapy, any modality. Again, like I said, mediumship is so phenomenal. But lots of the energy healing, helping to move and shift and release some of the heavy weighted energy that we carry in our field. That helped immensely. Going into your practices, we have to do our part in this. We absolutely, I would love to have been able to sit back and say, somebody just heal me. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. I needed to participate in my healing journey. And so I did things in terms of working with the gratitude journal. I did, went for energy healing sessions and all kinds of energy healing sessions, from past life regressions to, readings with my guides and angels, following whatever advice and guidance that they were giving. I had to put the effort in terms of shifting my mindset. My meditation was, oh my gosh, meditation was such a, I mean, I'm an advocate about meditation, even for mediums. Just, if you're people who've trained with me, they know, meditate, meditate, meditate. Because meditation is what really helped me to settle my nervous system. It's what helped me to find some peace and to find calm and to be alone with my thoughts. I didn't need to be alone. It wasn't that I needed to push people away, but I did need opportunity to be alone so I could get real and honest about how I was feeling, how to be present with how I was feeling. And that every time, even if my mind was busy sometimes, or it was uncomfortable, I meditated. It's such a therapeutic support when you are going through your darker times. Anything that you can do, Give yourself permission to cry. Get a journal out and write that shit out. Get honest with yourself. Don't censor it. And then, don't keep those pages either. You want to, if you're bitter, if you're upset, if someone's hurt you, like tell them off in a letter. Don't mail it to them. Put it through a paper shredder, but get it out of you. We need to be able to express what's inside of us. And then when you're doing that, then it's like, then fall forward into a gratitude practice. Listen to some uplifting music. Get out in nature. I know I needed to take action and started, I could be in the funk for a while and because it's necessary, but I also needed to bring in the medicine that would help to begin to boost me a little bit too, whether it was the energy medicine or it was time in nature, whether it was the gratitude practices. It was the healing of so many belief systems, so many things that had led me to believe that I was unlovable, that I was unworthy, that I deserved to be abused, all of those things. I needed to shift and I had to heal all of that. So, we can't do it overnight. We cannot do it overnight, but we can do it incrementally, one step and one foot in front of each other every single day. As the Buddhists say, every day we are born again, and what we choose to do with it is what matters the most. So that's where the conscious choice, choosing me time and time again. I'm going to choose me right now. I'm going to choose to do something, for myself. I This also goes, I mean, this is such a big, beautiful question, but I think at some point too, we also, and I write about this in my book, we also need to stop asking why this has happened. And instead we need to change the conversation of saying, what do I need in this moment? What do I need right now to feel a little bit better? What is it that that can help me? We need to get a little bit selfish in our healing journey. Instead, why? We're never gonna figure out why some things happen. Bad shit happens. It happens. And there are a multitude of reasons as to what could have happened that orchestrated it. But it's about changing. Instead of seeking for why, we need to start asking what do I need? What's going to help me feel better? What do I need to shift and heal? And so as you become conscious and you start making choices that support the what you need, you're going to see it's going to start to shift you out, shift you out, shift you out. And meditation was a lifesaver. My gratitude practice saved my life. It absolutely did. That I had to force myself to find things to be grateful for. I was so focused on what was wrong, what was not, what had happened in my past, where the pain, my wounds were. I got lost in it. And so for me, it was about needing to look at, in order to shift the mindset, was for me to look at really becoming very promised to myself in terms of my gratitude practice. So little things every single day, little moments, from moment to moment, small little steps, small little choices. Such a good question, such a big answer. I could go on and on. Thank you, Shauna, for bringing that forward. Really, really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to take one more question here. Oh my gosh. Hey, Rhonda. Hi. Rhonda said she's had her gift from a very young age, and more recently, when renovating, ooh, those renovations. I know where this is going. Oh my gosh, I received such an intense hit in my gut that I was presented like I had lived before, like a replay in my mind's eye. And and there was a man or two. I discussing what I was doing. My question: why does spirit come through so effortlessly and loving, while others come through like a punch and like a nauseous feeling in my gut for a few seconds before they appear? Oh my gosh, Rhonda, oh, I'm telling you. So first off, remember I said renovations. Oh, I know where this is going to go. Because renovations, it's in what happens, whether we're tearing down a wall, whether we're excavating around a home. As soon as the imprint or the auric field of a home gets opened up, it opens up all of the spirits who are there. Like it's like an activation of what is imprinted or what's holding within the energy of the home. So it absolutely, and that's a part of why it may have experienced it as like hitting you in the gut so intensely, because it's almost like spirit was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then then the renovation started to take place, which actually opened up the energy. And when it opened up, he would have just like boom, came at you. So that definitely is a part of it. So what there can be many differences. Like why does spirit come through effortlessly sometimes? Some are loving and others come in this way. It has to do with one, the vibration of the spirit who you're engaging with. So depending on where they are, so we understand that our vibration, our vibe talks before we do, right? So that energy is out, the energy is felt, the energy is being expressed. It's no different with the spirit world. That when we look at, they have different vibrations to them. And so we can be an experience of, higher vibrational spirits and lower vibrational spirits. And depending where they are, just because they're a high vibration or a low vibration, they can be very strong in either one of those frequencies. And so someone who is in a high vibration, it can also have a very strong push very quick. And a lot of it, what was their personality like in life? Because their personality they'll show up in the same way. So we recognize them, but their field of energy can come very, very strongly at us. Even if they're in a lower vibration, it can come in and it can hit us that way too. So sometimes there can be ease and flow or a gentleness within the energy field, which can be indicative of the person we're connecting with was very gentle in life. They were very, very calm, very gentle. So we can experience them that way, where others can come in and they can come in like a force. Maybe they were a force in life. Maybe they were very brash and bold and aggressive in life. They can come in like in that way in spirit. And just know that if they're doing that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're still miserable and brash and bold and everything. It just, they show up in a personality, so we recognize them. So it can be based on personality, but it can also be based on what was opened up in and during the renovation that created that bolstering of energy for that connection as well. And so spirit has a frequency and vibration, and so there can be ease in it, but then there can also be our personal vibration. And our personal vibration is also the attractor. So which means that when we're in a lower frequency or vibration, we can attract lower experiences with the spirit world, like this coming through like a punch or a nauseousness in the gut. Or if we're in a higher vibration, we can experience it in a different way. Lots of times there's so many variables with it. Sometimes, Rhonda, it can be how, as I said, personality. It can be pent up energy that's coming at it. It can be based on the easiest way for the spirit world to communicate with us based on where our vibration is in that particular moment. There's so many factors here. So, here again, it's amazing too, but to be hit like that in the gut, when we're looking at the stomach area, that is where our clair empathy is. So clair empathy, which is our ability to experience energy through the emotions that we feel. So when we're hit in the gut, pay attention to the feeling that's getting you there. Is it anger? Is it hostility? Is it joy that's getting you there? What is the energy behind that? Where does that emotion take you? Because that's really what it's about. So if it's in the gut, if it's creating nausea, here too, if you are experiencing any negative or adverse experiences from spirit in any way, just thank them. Immediately say, thank you for that. Thank you. I know you're here. Please let that go. Let that go. We don't need to suffer in the symptoms of our physical body. A punch in the gut is also a clairsentient experience, which means our physical body is having a direct experience in relationship to something. That feeling like getting punched or even nausea in the stomach can be how spirit is indicating maybe they were very sick when at the time of their crossing. Maybe they were someone who was fought a lot. Maybe there's people who I know, I have family members that are always in the middle of some kind of physical altercation. And so maybe that's how they were in life. So the things that we experience can also be something that is in relationship to them, so we can identify them as well. So there's so many aspects of it in terms of one spirit versus another, and it really is dependent on just becoming very keen on where senses and feelings are taking you, what this represents and means. And of course, we know we don't never have to suffer. We can always thank spirit for the experience. Please let it go, so that we're not caught in the nausea and the upset of it. And then again, this is where our vibration or their vibration can also be a part of that experience. So yeah, there's a lot of factors involved here. And so, just know that you always have power in every moment. And so you can tell spirit to ease up, back off a little bit, slow it down, just remind them. They forget. They get so excited because they've come into contact with someone that they forget that we're human. They forget that this could be scary. They forget that it might be intense. And we have to remind them, hey, like, you're making me feel really ill right now. You need to pull back a little bit. We just know that we always have a say. We can always be in control. So yeah, so many facets to that. Great question. Great question. Oh my gosh, so good. So good. Oh my gosh. Yay. I'm so glad it helped. Yes. I love that. Oh, good. I'm so glad when my story inspires, when something I said has been helpful. You guys, this is what it's all about for me. And I hope that as you're coming forward, we have some phenomenal mediums. Like I'm telling you, I am so lucky that I get to do the work that I get to do in this lifetime. And part of it is because I get to hang out with some of the most incredible people like each of you. And of course, the individuals coming up throughout this series. So I look forward to, of course, our conversation tomorrow night as we come back and we're a part of course, this circle tomorrow. This is, of course, being recorded. The recording will be posted on the event page at in Bonnie Wirth Global. So you would have got an email link to join the event page. If you're wanting to re-listen to any of the content from tonight, the video will be posted there within the next, like by tomorrow morning, within the next 24 hours. The videos will be going up. They'll all be shared on my YouTube channel after the conclusion of the Mediums World event, but you can, of course, access them before then through the on the event page, through Bonnie Wirth Global. So tomorrow, of course, we're coming in to tomorrow night's event. I'm so excited for our first guest speaker. And of course, coming in tomorrow night, and I would say this individual, I'm telling you, she is phenomenal. She's a remarkable lady coming in from Manila, and she just has been such a phenomenal individual. Where she's going to share her story. She has really come into a place of really being able to trust that she's a medium, trust that how her life has been playing out, this not fitting in the world, and not really sure if there's something to all of the things that she's experienced. She's been able to come forward into that, and of course is doing such a phenomenal work. So again, tomorrow night we have Barry Tegade that is coming forward and who will be joining us for our first conversation. So thank you, everybody. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow night. Oh, and before I get just one other thing, I'm just going to stop the recording here real quick. Hang on a second. Can I stop the recording? I think I should be able to. You know what? I'm just going to leave it on. Just so you know, there's been a slight change in time. If you are looking forward to the interview with Sean Leonard, he's had a little bit of challenge in his schedule. We're going to be doing the Mediums World event. We'll be at 6:30 p.m. start instead of 6 o'clock. So please mark that down for yourself. We're, of course, going to have the new information and the time change up on the event page on the website, but just so that you're aware of it, mark your calendars. He's going to be joining us at 6:30 instead of 6 p.m. All right, everyone, God bless. Thank you for being a part of our conversation here tonight. And I'm looking forward to every single day to come. We'll see you tomorrow night. Bye-bye for now.